Hello James. First of all, welcome to all of you on my Parasa channel Coding from Mumbai. Now, in this video I am talking about a new topic of a cool Java playlist, that is multi-threading in Java. What is the meaning of multi-threading? How we are able to create multiple threads in our program? What is the number of way of creating multi-threading program in Java? What is the meaning of multitasking, multi-processing, all types of questions that are occurred in your mind? I am sure after watching this video about multi-threading in Java, your all types of doubt are clear. Understand? So I just want to tell you, this is the part 1 video of multi-threading in Java, in which I just want to cover some introduction about multi-threading and some theory about multi-threading. After that, taking some example. With the help of example, I just want to tell you how we are able to create multi-threading program in our Java language. Understand? In part 2 video, I just want to cover some advanced feature of advanced point of multi-threading in Java. Understand? What is the way of working? What is the meaning of synchronous? What is the meaning of asynchronous? All types of advanced feature of multi-threading are covered in part 2 video. Understand? So this is a part 1 video. You have to watch part 1 as well as part 2 video very well, because this is a very important topic of a core Java playlist. Understand? So let's start the lecture and see what will happen in this video. Okay, so let's start. Hello. So now let's start the video. So before talking about the topics, first of all I just want to tell you what is the topic of the video, means overview of video. So first point that I want to cover in this video, that is what is the meaning of multitasking, what is the meaning of multi-processing, and last one is, that is the topic of the video, what is the meaning of multi-threading. Understand? After completing the first point, I just want to start the second point, that is differences between process and threads. What is the difference between process and threads? And third point is, what are the steps involved for creating a thread in our program? What I'm saying, what are the steps involved for creating a multi-threading program in Java? So this is the third point that I want to cover. And last point, that is fourth point, is number of way of creating thread. What is the number of way of creating multiple thread in program? So the first way of creating a multi-threading program is by implementing the Runnable interface. And second point is by extending the thread class. So there are two ways for creating multi-threading program. First way is by implementing the Runnable interface, and second way for creating multi-threading program is by extending the thread class. Okay, so this is the topic of the video. So let's start the first point, that is what is the multitasking, multi-processing, and multi-threading. Introduction about all these 3 points. Okay, so I'm writing some points here in this section. So let's start the first point. What is the meaning of multitasking? So first I just want to read the particular line that I'm writing here. Multitasking in computer system refers to the concurrent execution of multiple tasks or processes over a certain period of time. It involves overlapping and interleaving the execution of several programs, while the tasks share common processing resources such as CPU and main memory. Yes, I know you are not able to understand what is the meaning of that 3 particular line if you are confused. So I just want to tell you in general, in simple language, multitasking means whenever in computer language, our operating system are able to perform multiple tasks at the same time. What I'm saying? Our operating system, in not only in computer device but also in our mobile device. Whenever we are whenever we are using multiple application, multiple program in our system in our mobile, so operating system execute all the multiple programs, multiple tasks, execute multiple tasks at the same time. This concept is known as the multitasking. Understand? So multitasking in computer system refers to concurrent execution of multiple tasks. This is the meaning of that particular line, is the execution of a program is concurrent, means simultaneously all the program are executed by the operating system. Understand? So this is known as a multitasking. Our operating system is capable for doing the multiple tasks at the same time. So this job is done by the operating system. This concept is called the multitasking. So here if I want to take an example, so example here is like if I tell you I'm open my laptop, in single laptop I am listening the music, okay, as not only listening the music but also I am open my PowerPoint and creating some slide, understand. So I'm doing two multiple tasks. First is I am listening the music, means music player is on, first process, and second process is I am open our PowerPoint and doing creating some slide on that. So at the same time we are using two processes, we are using two programs. So our operating system execute multiple tasks at the same time. So this is example of how multitasking are work, understand. So this is example of multitasking, means we are using we are listening the music in background as well as with the simultaneously we are using PowerPoint for creating slide. Okay, so this is example how operating system are single operating system. These two process one music player, second process is PowerPoint. These two process are using the same resources. These two these two process uses the same computer system, same CPU, single CPU. So they are using common resources. So this is a line right here. It involves overlapping, means what is the meaning of overlapping? Means process 1 process 2 are run concurrently. So this is known as overlapping and interleaving the execution of several programs while the tasks share common processing resources such as CPU. Means multiple tasks are executed at the same time, or all these tasks are share the common resources. So this is a simple definition of multitasking. What is the meaning of multitasking in terms of computer system, understand. So multitasking is two types. First one is process based multitasking and second one is thread based multitasking. Okay, what is the meaning of process based multitasking? Process based multitasking is none other than multiprocessing. I'm talking about multiprocessing. When I'm talking about the second type, that is thread based multitasking, means I'm talking about the multi-threading. Okay, so let's start one by one. So you have to see I'm writing some points here about multiprocessing. Multiprocessing is the use of two or more computer processing central processing units CPUs within a single computer system. The term also refers to the ability of a system to support more than one processor or the ability to allocate tasks between them. What I'm saying, in our single computer system, I am not using single processing unit, single CPU. I am using multiple CPUs. Understand? So this is example of multitasking. When I talking about taking an example for a computer system in which I am using two applications at the same time. First one is I am listening the music in background as well as I am doing creating some slide on PowerPoint. So these two processes are using the same common resources, same CPU, single CPU. So there is a problem or not a problem. There is a little bit timing late for switching the processes or executing the program multiple tasks. For executing the multiple tasks, it takes some times. It very less amount of time. We are not feel like that, but it takes very less time. But if our in our system we are using let's assume 10 programs at the same time. In this example or of PowerPoint and music player, only two processes are executed at the same time. Let's assume in my computer system, I am using 10 programs at the same time. I am running 10 process at the same time. At that time, our CPU, it may be take some time for execute all 10 tasks at the same time. So for that, for overcome that problem, for overcome the speed of execution of a 10 tasks at the same time by a single CPU, we are using the concept of multiprocessing. So by using multiprocessing, we are using the multiple processor, means in our system not only one single CPU are present. I am using 5 CPU. So 10 tasks, in example 10 tasks are allocated or distributed in all our 5 CPUs. So by using multiple processor, we the performance of for by using the multiple processor, the execution or the performance of running the 10 tasks at the same time are very fast. So this is a definition of a multiprocessing. Means not only single CPU. We in our program we are using multiple processor for execute multiple tasks at the same time. So this concept is known as a process based multitasking. Means our multiple tasks are execute at the same time on depend on the multiple processors. So this is known as the multiprocessing. Again, I want to read the message. Multiprocessing is the use of two or more central processing. Means multiple processors are present for executing the multiple programs, multiple process at the same time. So this concept is known as the multiprocessing. Now notice point here is, when I am talking about the multitasking, so notice point here is I am to tell you one thing, that is what, that is multiple tasks are executed at the same time by the operating system. Okay, what I'm saying, I'm telling that, I was telling that multiple tasks at the same time are executed concurrently by operating system. This concept is known as a multitasking. But it looks like all the programs, all multiple programs execute at the same time, but it is not. What I'm saying, all multiple tasks are executed at the same time, but it looks like, but actually they are not executed at the same time. Actually they are execute, all the multiple tasks are execute one by one. Understand, this is a very important point in terms of multitasking. All the multiple thread, not thread, all multiple tasks that are present in our program are not execute at a concurrently or simultaneously by the operating system. All multiple tasks are execute one by one, but this job is very fast. So it looks like all the tasks are execute at the same time. Question is how multiple programs are executed by the operating system one by one. What is the behind the scene are happen? So if I want to take take the role of the how operating system are execute multiple tasks at the same time, but it is not. So let's assume, and I'm using our why I'm taking a same example. That is what, I'm listening the music. I'm open my music player and listening the music in computer system, as well as I also creating some slide on the PowerPoint. Understand? So operating system are the task of operating system to execute process 1 giving some amount of time, and control of execution from process 1 switching from process 1 to process 2, that is PowerPoint. Understand? So the task of operating system is the execution of the control of execution of a process are switched between the processes. Understand what I'm saying? Operating system are switch the execution of a program from one process to another process in same amount of time. For example, operating system execute the first process 5 seconds, so it switch from 5 seconds to after 5 seconds on the second process. So second process are execute after completing the same amount of time, that is 5 seconds, then again switch to the process 1. So all the process, all the tasks, all multiple tasks are standing in a queue, and operating system are switch the execution of a process one by one to all of them in very fast manner. In very fast manner, what I'm saying, operating system are all the multiple tasks are present into the queue, and operating system task is to execute the multiple process for giving same amount of time interval for executing the program. After giving the process one some amount of time, then switch the control of execution from process 1 to process 2 and giving same amount of time for execution, then switch the execution control from process 2 to process 3, then process 4, then process 5 again. After giving the example, giving the time of same amount of time for process 5, then again comes into process 1, then process 2, then process 2. So this is the circular queue of execution of multiple tasks are done by the operating system. But these type of control, this type of running the program one by one, this type of way is very fast. So let's assume nanosecond or millisecond. So we are not able to visualize that कि operating system are execute all the process, all the tasks one by one. It looks like us all the tasks are executed concurrently by the operating system. So this is the notice point. Operating system are execute all the tasks one by one, but it is very fast. So this is why it looks like all the tasks are execute at the same time. So this concept is known as a multitasking, how operating system are execute all the tasks at the same time or simultaneously. Okay, so I'm just taking the third point of the video, that is what is the meaning of multi-threading. Understand? So let's start. So multi-threading, first of all, I just want to read the point. In Java, thread is a small part of program which can run independently with other thread and main method. Second point is a thread in is an independent path of execution within a program. Many threads can run concurrently within a program. Multi-threading means running two or more parts of a program parallel. In this, each part is called the thread. Thus, by using thread, we can achieve multi-threading in Java or within a multitasking within Java. So, concept of multi-threading is little bit different. When I'm talking about the multi-processing, so I'm talking about the whole system. In whole our computer system, I'm using the different multiple tasks. Means I'm open my VLC media for listening the music. I'm open my second application, that is PowerPoint, for creating the slide. And again I'm open my browser for doing some Google or using some search engine. So I'm using different application for doing the operation. So this is known as a multi-processing. When I talking about the multi-processing, so I'm talking about the in our whole computer system, different application are open and they are execute at the same time. But when I'm talking about the multi-threading, so multi-threading is nothing but a small part of a program, means within a program. When I'm talking about the multi-processing, so I'm talking about the within a system. I'm using different application. But when I'm talking about the multi-threading, so I'm talking about the within a single program. Within a single program, different small module, or let's say the small part are present which are running concurrently, is known as a multi-threading. This is a simple definition of multi-threading. I want to repeat. First of all, you have to understand what is the differences between multi-processing and multi-threading. When I'm talking about multi-processing, so in multi-processing, when I'm taking the point or a word multi-processing, so I'm talking about within a whole system. I'm using different application for executing or performing real tasks. For example, again I want to take an example. I'm open my WhatsApp to doing some chatting. In background, I'm listening the music, as well as again I want to switch the working of from WhatsApp to Instagram or any other app. So multiple tasks. When I talk about multi-processing, so in whole system I'm using different application. That application are execute at the same time. But when I talking about the concept of multi-threading, so I am talking about within a single program, within a, if I taking example, within a single PowerPoint application. I'm talking about within a single PowerPoint application, within a single music player application, within a single WhatsApp application. Understand? So you have to understand multi-threading is, when I'm talking about the terms multi-threading, so I am talking about the within a single program, different small part are present. That part are execute concurrently, simultaneously. So this job or this execution of a part, small part of a single program concurrently are execute. So this is known as a multi-threading. This is a simple example of multi-threading. Now I just want to read the definition again. In Java, thread is a small part of a program. Means I'm talking about within a program, within a single program. What is thread? Thread is a small part of a program. Means in a single program, multiple thread are present. Understand? Which can run independently. Means in single program, different small part are present. Small part are present. That is known as a thread, and all these small part are independent to each other and they are executed concurrently by the computer system. So this is known as a multi-threading with other and then main method. A thread is independent path of execution within a program. I'm talking about within a program. This is very best definition. I just want to tell you. What read the message again. A thread is an independent path of execution within a program. Means if I, for example, I'm just want to take example so you are able to understand the concept of multi-threading. Okay, now let's take the example of I'm open our music player media or VLC app application in our system, and open and I'm listening the music. What is the different sub part of are present or execute concurrently within a single application? Understand? So when I using or listening the music by using the VLC media or any other application or music player, so concurrently small part are present that are execute at the same time. For example, if I listening the music, okay. So question is, if I listening the music, so there is a chances that what is chance? There is a chances of uh, timing are increases, start time are increases, and and the end time of a program are decreases. Means whenever we are listening the music, so start time are increases every time. So increase the number of second are playing the music are also increase, as well as number of time of completing the song is also decreased. So these are the two tasks. First task is we are listening the music first. Second task is the timing of song are increases. Let's take example, our song is 2 minutes long song. Okay, so if I listening the music 1 minute, so after 1 minute it increase by 1 minute and 1 second and 1 minute and 2 second, means timing is also increases. So this is a small part, that is timing, and music listening the music is second part. So this small part within a single program are execute at the same time. This concept is known as a multi-threading. If I want to take another example, so you are able to also understand the concept of multi-threading. Let's assume I am open our simple browser or any other application. Open my I'm open my single. Let's assume any other application. Okay. So second example is that is I'm using any mobile application or mobile game. So let's assume I'm using a single bike racer game in which I'm racing the bike. So how the multi-threading are works in gaming. Okay, so when I increase the speed of our bike, to at the same time we are giving the direction by switching our mobile into the left or right. At the same time, the volume of speed of increasing the speed is also increased. At the same time, we are able to switch, or we are able to on the horn of a we are able to push the horn of a bike. At the same time, the speed of increase is also visualized on the screen, that is 180 kilometer per hour or 160 kilometer per hour. So all these operations, small part, are execute at the same time. So let's assume we are racing the bike, or changing the direction of a bike by switching the device from left to right is thread 1. Thread 2 is what? Thread 2 increase the speed. Whenever we are increasing the speed of a bike by clicking on the button of increase the speed, so number of speed, or what is the speed, are writing on the slide or a device or a application is thread 2. Okay, and when we are pressing the button of a horn, then horn is on. This is the third thread. So thread 1, thread 2, thread 3 are execute concurrently within a single program. Understand? So this concept is known as the multi-threading. I think you are able to understand what is the meaning of multi-threading and what is the basic differences between multi-processing as well as multi-tasking or multi-threading. You have to understand multi-processing as well as multi-threading are both are comes into terms of multitasking. Means we are able to perform multiple tasks at the same time. When I'm talking about multi-processing, so I'm talking about the in a whole system we are using different application at the same time. But when I'm talking about the multi-threading, so in a single program small part are present, and these small part are independent to each other, and they are execute or concurrent execute at the same time. So this is known as a multi-threading. Now let's talk about the second point. Our first point is clear, that is what is the meaning of multitasking and what is the meaning of multi-processing and multi-threading. Now I just want to take the second point, that is what is the differences between process and threads. if you have any doubt till now or about the process and thread, so let's see what is the difference between process and threads. So for that I'm just coming in a second point video. Now you are able to see, I'm just taking some slide here so you are able to understand what is the differences between process and thread. So first point is, what is the basic what is the basic what difference is. Process is an executing program is called a process. What I'm saying, an execute what is it, that basic is an executing program is called thread. Whenever we are is known as a process. Understand? For example, within a system, we are executing the PowerPoint slide as well as listening the music. So PowerPoint slide is known as a process, or executing the program is known as a process. A thread is a small part of a process. Means within a program, within a PowerPoint, we are using different small feature that are execute is known as a thread. Understand? Address space, this is very important difference. That is, what is the meaning of address space? Every process has its separate address space. When I'm talking about multiprocessing, in multiprocessing, in whole system, we are using the different application. We are open the different application and using executing that at the same time. So all these different application are taking the different address space for executing into the RAM. Understand? Means in a RAM, random access memory, they are allocating the different address space. They are allocating the different memory for executing at the same time. When I'm talking about the thread, multi-threading, so all the threads of a process share the same address space cooperatively as that of a process. Means when I talking about multi-threading, so in multi-threading or in terms of thread, in a single program, in a single address space, they are using single address space for executing the multiple small part of a program within a single program. Okay, so this is a differences between process and thread. And third is multitasking. Process based multitasking allows a computer to run two or more than two programs concurrently. What I'm saying earlier means multitasking or a multiprocessing means we are executing multiple process. We are using we are executing multiple process, multiple programs, multiple application we are using at the same time. But when I'm talking about the multi-threading, so thread-based multitasking allow a single program to run two or more thread concurrently. Means within a single program, small part are of a program are execute independently and at the same time. Communication between two processes is expensive and limited. Understand? For example, when I talk about taking the example same, means we are using the music player for listening the music, and I'm open our PowerPoint. So to communication between the what music player as well as the PowerPoint is a little bit expensive and limited. But when I'm talking about the communication between thread within a program, so communication between two thread is less expensive. Because why less is expensive? Because all the thread are present into the same program. Okay, means when I using the PowerPoint, so in PowerPoint all small part that are known as a thread, we are able to they are able to execute to they are able to communicate to each other, which is very less expensive. Understand? Now what is the meaning of switching? Context of switching from one process to another process is expensive. What is the meaning of that? When I'm talking about that, operating system are execute all multiple tasks not at the same time. They are switch from process 1 to process 2, then process 3, and again process 1 process 2 are execute. So all the process are executing from the operating system one by one. So control of execution, operating system switch from process 1 to process 2, then process 2 to process 3. So switching the control of execution from process 1 to process 2 is more expensive from the operating system. But when I'm talking about the in terms of multi-threading, means within a single program, at that moment of time, context switching means, let's assume execution of control or execution of a thread are switching from thread 1 to thread 2 or thread 2 to thread T3 is very less expensive. Okay, as compared to the process. And the component, in terms of component, a process has its own address space, global variables, signals handlers, open files, child process, and accounting information, and blah blah blah. Means when I'm talking about the process, so process have a own address space and own different thing. So this is about the what about the process. A thread has its own register, stack, state, and program counter. All the things are of thread itself. What is the meaning of substitute? Process are also called heavyweight tasks. Yes, it is known. We all know that. When I talk about the substitute, means one process. For example, I'm open our YouTube in our one slide in our system, as well as I'm open our camera in on laptop or a webcam in another system. So both application, both process are heavyweight, but thread is lightweight. Why lightweight? Because thread are present within a single program. Control process based multitasking is not under the control of Java. Understand why not control of Java? Because process based multitasking is controlled on a operating system task to execute multiple processes at the same time. But thread based multitasking under the control of Java means when I'm talking about the within a single program. So within a control of Java can run concurrently or multiple thread within the same program at the same time. Example, you are working on a text editor, it refers to the execution of a process. Okay, this is example of process. We are using the text editor. What is the example of multi-threading or the threading? You are printing a file from text editor, and while working on working on it that resembles that execution of a thread in the process. Means uh, we are using the single thread file, single text file, and after using that we are able to save that. So this is an example of, means we are doing the our operation, our task within a single application is known as a thread. But when I talking about the complete process, so this is known as a process. This is a basic difference between the process and thread. Okay, so our second point is also complete till now. What is the basic differences between process and thread? Now I'm talking about the what are the steps for involved for creating a thread. I think till now you are able to understand what is the meaning of multitasking, what is the meaning of multiprocessing, and what is the meaning of multi-threading in terms of how what is the differences between process and thread. Now I just want to take the huge amount of knowledge about the thread. Your introduction or basic information about multi-threading are clear till now. Now I'm talking about the in terms of programming language, in terms of Java, how multi-threading are present, how multi-threading are executed. Okay, so first of all I just want to take the third point, that is steps involved for creating a thread in Java. I just want to write here in Java. What are the steps are involved for creating a thread or multi-threading program in language Java? Okay, so let's see. So before talking about the step that I'm writing here, I'm talking about the, again I'm talking about the thread. Thread is nothing but a small part R of a program within a single program. So means within a single program, different small part are present. That small part is known as a thread. Okay. So let's see what is the steps are involved for creating a multi-threading program in Java or creating a single thread program in Java language. So creating a thread class object. The first point here is the first step is we have to create the object of a thread class. Understand, we have to create the object of thread class. What is the thread class and what how we are able to create the object of thread class, I'm talking about later. So first point or first step is we have to create the object of thread class. Second is write the code for each thread. Understand, write the code for each thread means we have to create. What is our main objective? Our main objective is I want to create a single Java program in which I want to create multiple thread, means thread 1, thread 2, thread 3. Okay, all these three thread are execute concurrently. Understand what I'm saying? All these three thread execute concurrently. Thread 1 contains some line of code, thread 2 also contain some line of code, and thread 3 also contain some line of code, and all these three thread are present into single Java file. Understand, means thread 1, thread 2, thread 3 contain different code, and these three thread are present into single Java file, and our requirement is to execute all these three thread at the same time. So for doing that we have to we have to involve, or we have to follow some rules or steps for doing or creating the thread. So first step is we have to create the object of a thread class. Thread class is a predefined class, okay, and by using thread class we are able to create the thread in our program. So first step is we have to create the object of thread class. For example, in my example, I want to create a thread t1, t2, t3, let's assume. So first of all we have to create the three object of a thread class. First object is t1 of thread class, second object of a thread class is t2, and third object of thread class is t3. So t1, t2, t3 are the three object of a thread class. So this is the first step that I am doing that till now. Second step is write the code for each thread. Means what I want to run, what I want to execute from thread 1, means all line of code in thread 1 we have to write. Line of code that I want to run with the thread 2 I want to write. The line of code that I want to execute with the help of thread 3 I want to write. Means line of code of thread 1, thread 2, thread 3. For each thread we have to write some amount of code that I want to run, execute, or at the same time. One notice point here is all the thread within single program are independent. Means thread 1 does not depend on thread 2, and thread 2 does not depend on thread 3. So this is the basic differences. This is the basic notice point in concept of thread in Java. So first point is creating the object of thread class that I've done. Second point is we have to write a line of code for each thread. For thread T1 we have to write a line of code we have to write, and for T2 and as well as for T3 thread. So we have third point is second point is we have to write some line of code for thread T1, T2 and T3. Third steps is what attach the code to the thread. Means whatever we are writing line of code for execute with the help of thread 1, so we have to attach that amount of line of code to the thread 1. And for example I am using thread 2, so I am writing some line of code that I want to execute with the help of thread 2, so I have to attach this thread 2 this amount of code line of code to the thread 2. And last one is that I want to write some line of code I want to execute with the help of thread 3. So for that I am just attaching that last line of code to the thread 3. So last third point is attach the code to the thread. Means T1, T2, T3 thread are already present, that is object of thread class, and I am writing the different program for all these three thread. Third point is to attach these line of code, these program to all the thread according to our requirement. Last is that is what is the fourth step. Fourth step is execute the threads. Means after doing the operation, after creating the object of thread class, after creating the program for each thread, after attaching the programs different programs from each thread, last one is we want to execute all the thread t1, t2, 3 at the same time. Okay, so this is the steps that I want to write or that I want to follow for creating the program of multi-threading in Java language. Okay, so this is all information about the what are the steps involved for creating the threads in Java. Now I just want to tell you one thing, that is what number of way of creating the threads in Java language. Before talking about the number of way of creating the thread, I just want to show you what is a thread class. Understand? So first of all, let's assume we just want to take the number of way of creating the thread. So first way of creating a thread multi-threading program is by implementing the runnable interface. Second is by extending the thread class. So how we are able to do that with the help of both, means by implementing the runnable interface as well as by executing the thread class. First of all, I just want to show you what is a thread class and what are the method constructor are present into thread class, and what is a runnable interface, what are the method are contained by runnable interface. So for that I am just open our VS Code and you are able to see I am just open the this particular line. I am writing some line of code here, so you are able to see the runnable interface should be implemented by any class whose instances are intended to execute by a thread. The class must be defined a method of no argument called run. Means you are able to see Runnable is nothing but a runnable is an interface which contain a method that is known as a run method. Understand what I am saying? Runnable is an interface that contain a method that is known as a run method. By using that particular run method, we are able to execute the line of code or amount of code with the help of thread 1 or thread 2 and thread 3. So enable interface, the first way of creating a multi-threading program, that is by implementing the runnable interface. So this is the structure of a runnable interface. Means runnable interface contain a single method that is known as a run method. And what is point here is runnable interface should be implemented by any class. Means if I want to create any program for creating the multi-threading program, so we have to implement the particular runnable interface for creating the multi-threading program. That is the first way of creating multi-threading program, that is by implementing the runnable interface. Now I just want to take the second thing, that is thread class. What is a thread class? So first I will tell you, thread class is a predefined class that is present into the java.lang package. Okay, so java.lang package contain a class that is known as a thread class. So thread class is also implements the runnable interface. Understand, thread class is also implements the runnable interface. So they are to contain different constructor of a thread class. So first constructor of thread class, that is default constructor, that the constructor does not take any argument in his body. Second constructor is thread class that contain the argument of runnable interface. Okay, and third constructor of a thread class that contain the argument as a string. Okay, and many more constructor are present into the thread class. Now some method are present into thread class. The first method is, that is run method. Why run method? Run method is present into the where, into the runnable interface, because thread class are implements the runnable interface. So any class that implements any interface, so that class that implements the particular interface, so that class have responsibility to implement all the methods that are present into the particular interface. Okay, so this is why thread class implements the runnable interface. So thread class responsibility to implement the or giving the body to the run method that is present into the runnable interface. Second method is, that is known as the start method. By using the start method, we are able to start the execution of a thread. Then third method is public static void native thread and current thread. Then fourth method is alive method. And then this is fifth or sixth method, that is get a name method. Then set a name method. Then get priority method, set priority method, sleep method, and yield method, and many more methods. So these are the simple too much important methods that are present into the thread class. More information about these methods are we are want to clear into this part 2 of the multi-threading in Java. So this is a part 1 video in which I just want to give you the simple introduction and basic information about the multi-threading. So these are the methods that are present into the thread class, that is predefined class, and many more methods are present into thread class. So this all information about the thread class. What are the method are present into thread class? What are the constructor are present into the thread class? So this is all example. This is all the way of how thread class are looks like. What are the method where thread class are present, and what is the runnable interface? If any class are implements the runnable interface, so that class have a responsibility to implement the method of runnable interface. So runnable interface contain a single method, that is run method, that is here. So thread class are implements the runnable interface. So this is the runnable interface which contain a single method. Okay, so this is the simple structure of a runnable interface as well as the thread class. Okay, so now let's start the first way of creating the multi-threading program by implementing the runnable interface. Means how we are able to create a multi-threading program in Java language by implementing the runnable interface. So I just want to tick here as well as tick here. So for that I'm just open our VS Code editor, and in which you are able to see here I'm simple creating an example.java file. Okay, which is here, and I want to create a public void. No, first of all we have to write class name. Okay, public class example. which contain public static void main method. Okay, so this is example is a simple class that are contain a main method. Now I want to talk about the how we are able to create the multi-threading program in our language. Multi-threading means is nothing but a within a single program different thread are present for that thread contains some line of code, and these all these multiple thread are execute at the same time. Understand? So for that I am just on for the first step of creating thread is we have to import the thread class. First of all, import java.util.thread. Understand why it is error? We have to understand because thread class is present into the lang package, not into the thread, not into util package. So I'm just importing the thread class in our program. So first step is for creating the multi-threading program. So I am want to write some line of code here for comment purpose. That is what? That is by implementing the runnable interface, we are we are creating multi-threading program. Understand? So you are able to see I'm just writing here line first line, that is by using the runnable interface I want to what I want to create a multi-threading program. So I'm just writing here like asterisk. Okay, so what is the task why I have to do for that? First step is we want to create a object of thread class. So I am just creating the object of thread class. That is first object is t1, that is the object of thread class. Okay, and then I want to create a second thread, that is t2 is a second thread. Okay, and then I want to create a third thread within a single program, that is t3. So first step of creating multi-threading program is we have to create the object of a thread class. If I am open our OneNote, so you are able to see I am coming into here. So first step is for creating the multi-threading program, that is creating the thread class object. So I am just creating the object, that is thread. I am creating the three object t1, t2, t3 of thread class. Second point is we have to write line of code for each thread. Means for t1 thread I have to write some line of code, for t2 thread I have to write some line of code, for t3 thread I have to write some line of code. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm again open our VS Code. For question is how we are able to write some line of code for thread t1, t2 and t3. So I'm just creating a single different class. Class A, let's assume class A is contain some line of code which is execute which is contain the line of code for t3 for t1 thread, and class B contain some line of code for t2 thread, and class C contain some line of code for T3 thread. Understand? Means in our single program, I am creating the three classes, class A, class B, class C. Class A contains some line of code. Okay, class A contains some line of code which I want to execute with the help of thread T1. Class B contains some line of code that I want to execute with the help of thread T2, and class C contains some line of code that I want to execute with the help of thread T3. Okay, so I have to write line of code for class A, class B, class C, which is execute with the help of thread. So I am not writing directly line of code, so I have to create a method for writing line of code. Public void, let's assume fun method. Okay, in which I just want to write some line of code. Again, this method is present into class B also, as well as class C also. Means all these three classes, means class A, class B, class C contain, let's assume fun1 method, and here is fun2 method, and here is fun3 method. So fun1 method contains some line of code, for thread T1. Fun2 method contains some line of code for thread T2, as well as Fun3 method contains some line of code for thread T3. Okay, so I have to write some line of code into all these classes. So I just want to using the for loop here. Int I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to, let's assume 5, then I plus plus. Okay, again I want to print some message here like thread T1. Okay, I want to copy the this for loop and printing into the fun2 method, and here I am writing thread T2. Why I'm writing thread T2? Because I want to attach the class B code or this particular line of code of class B to the thread T2. And again I just want to copy this particular line and put into the here. Okay, so T1 T2 I just want to giving some space so you are able to understand how it is working. And here I am writing why it is error. The error is very simple. We have to copy this particular for loop only, not the whole method. So I'm just printing message here, and here I'm writing thread T3. Okay, so let's give this common spaces, and thread T3 also contain the again space, means thread T1 are printed, then after some space thread T2 are only what is the spaces, one tab, two tab. Okay, it's removing these one tab, two tab, three tab, four tab. Okay, so I am just creating class A that contain fun1 method, and fun1 method contains some line of code that I want to execute with the help of thread T1. Class B contain some line of code that I want to execute with the help of thread T2. Class C contains some line of code that I want to execute with the help of thread T3. Okay, so second point is second step are clear, means first step is we have to create the object of thread class, that I'm also done here. Second thing is I have to create the code or write the code for each thread, so I'm done here. Question is how we third, then let's go for the third step. What is third step? Attach the code to the thread, means how we are able to attach our class A code to the thread T1, how we are able to attach the class B code to the thread T2, how we are able to create or attach the code of class C to the thread C. Let's see how we are able to do that. Okay, so let's see how I'm able to attach the class A code to the thread T1, class B code to the thread T2, and class C code to the thread T3. Okay, so for attaching the code of class A to the thread T1 of class B and T2 and so on, we have to create the object of particular class, means we have to create the object of class A, class B as class C. After creation the object, we have to pass the particular object into the constructor of a thread. Means my requirement is I want to attach the code of class A to the thread T1, so I have to pass the object of class A into the constructor of a thread T1. So I am just creating the object of class A and passing as an argument into the thread T1 in the thread constructor. So I just want to attach the code of thread of class B to the thread T2. So I'm just passing the object of class B in the constructor of thread T2, and for attaching the code of class C to the thread T3, I'm just passing the object of class C into the constructor of thread T3. Understand? So I'm just passing the object of a class A, class B, class C into the constructor of a thread. Okay, for attaching the code to the thread, which is our, if I'm just open particular open, so you are able to use third point is attaching code to the thread. So for attaching the code, I have to what, I have to pass the object of particular class into the constructor of thread class. Okay, so there is error. What is error? Guess. Now when we are, question is VS Code provides such error. I am not going to read the error. If you are able to understand, if I hover it, you are able to see the constructor thread A, means this particular constructor thread class which contain the argument of class A is undefined, means thread class have no constructor that contain the object of class A. What I'm saying? The error are thrown by the VS Code. An error said the constructor of thread A is undefined, means in thread class there is a no constructor that contain the object of a class A. If I hover on the second constructor, the constructor thread B is undefined. It's mean the thread class have no constructor that contain the object of class B. If I'm hover on in the third, then you are able to see the constructor thread C is undefined, means thread class have no constructor that contain the object at then that constructor take the argument of a class A or a class B or a class C. There is a no constructor that contain the argument of any class or user defined class. So there is an error thrown by the VS Code. Means when we are passing the object of our class into the constructor of a thread class, so what I'm assuming? I'm assuming that the thread class constructor is looks like that. Like how constructor or thread class constructor look like. So it maybe look like public thread, and it is a container reference variable. Okay, if I am passing the object of a class A into the constructor of T1, so I assuming that in predefined thread class there is a this type of constructor is present that contain that take the argument or object of a class A. When I am passing the object of class B into the constructor of thread T2, so at that moment of time I am assuming that what I'm assuming that thread class contain a constructor that contain the reference variable of a class B. When I passing the object of class C constructor of into the constructor of thread T3, at that time I am assuming that that particular thread class contain a constructor that contain the reference variable of thread of class C. But it is not possible. Why not possible? Because class A, class B, class C, or any user defined class I am creating now in this video. But we know that thread class is a predefined class, is already developed by developer whenever Java is released. Means thread class is predefined class is already exist. Means whatever constructor are present into thread class is already exist. So there is a no constructor are present which contain the which take the argument of a object of a user defined class which is created now. Understand? Means there is a no constructor are present into thread class that take the argument of class A, class B, or class C, or any other classes of user defined. So question is, sir, if thread class constructor does not contain the thread class does not contain any constructor that are able to take the object of user defined class, so how we are able to attach our class A or a line of code to the thread T1, T2, and T3? So for solving the problem of attaching the code of a particular class or user defined class to the thread, so at that moment of time, for overcome this problem, for which problem, to attaching the code a block of code to particular thread, to what is the actual, we have to understand what is the problem is we are not able to attach the class A code to the thread T1. We are not able to attach the code of class B to the thread T2 and T3. Why? Because thread class constructor have no constructor like that contain the object of a user defined class. So for solving that particular problem, at that time this runnable interface is comes. Understand? Means for solving the problem of attaching the code to the thread, at that moment of time this runnable interface takes place. Means this runnable interface helps us. By using this runnable interface, we are able to attach the code of class A to the thread T1, code of class B to the thread T2, code of class C to the thread T3. So let's see how we are able to attach the code of our class A, class B, class C to the thread T1, T2, T3. So for understanding purpose, I am just want to again open the thread class, how thread class looks like, and what are the constructor are already present into thread. class. So I'm just open this file. You are able to see thread class is implement the runnable interface. First of all, you have to understand means runnable interface. If you are able to see, runnable interface is a single interface that contain a single method that is known as a run method. Understand? Runnable interface is a single method that contain the run method. First thing. Second thing is thread class implements the runnable interface, means thread class or implement the run method which is present into the runnable interface. My requirement is I want to attach the class A to the code to the constructor to the thread T1, T2 and T3. So I'm just want to see what are the constructor are present into the thread class. So first constructor that are present into thread class, that is known as a default constructor that does not take any argument in his body. Second type of constructor is known as, this is the second constructor. You are able to see this particular second constructor is useful for me. This particular second constructor is useful for me that take the argument of a runnable interface, means this particular constructor, this second type of constructor of a thread class contain the argument of a runnable interface. Means runnable interface, I'm in this particular parenthesis, developer or a Java developer just create the reference variable of a runnable interface, that is the target. Means this second type of constructor take the argument of a runnable interface, means this particular runnable interface reference variable. What I'm saying, second type of thread class constructor are able to take the argument of any object, any class that implements the runnable interface. What is the meaning of that? I just want to tell you in deeply. So you are able to see how this particular constructor looks like, that is already present into the thread class. This particular constructor is simple constructor. In but parenthesis, they are created the reference variable of a runnable interface is named as a target. Okay, so by using this particular constructor which take the argument of a runnable interface, reference variable is used for attaching our code to the thread. So how we're able to do that? So for understanding the concept of how we're able to attach the code of particular this runnable interface or a thread to the our class A, class B, class C to the thread T1, T2, T3, we have to recall the concept of interface. Now question is, sir, what is the meaning of interface? So I am just open again. I want to come on our example.file here. Okay. So concept is, what is the meaning of interface? Interface is nothing but a simple how interface looks like. I just want to quick revise. Okay. So I just want to open the OneNote so you are able to see. If I am coming here, I just want to write here like interface. So if I want to create interface, I have to write interface keyword, then interface name and then curly braces. This particular interface contains some method, public void fun method. Understand? So this in this interface looks like that. This interface contain the function declaration only. Okay. Now any class, I just want to write small I. So this is the syntax of interface I1. I1 is an interface that contain the fun method. Now, what is the concept of interface? We are not able to create the object of interface. This is the first point. What is that? We are not able to create the object of interface, but we are able to create the reference variable of interface. You have to understand this point very well. This is very important. This is a very important point. Understand what is that? That is what we are not able to create the object of a interface, but we are able to create the reference variable of interface. Now, if I'm not able to create the object of interface, and we know that interface contain the function declaration only. Now, any class, let's assume any class, public class, let's assume college. So college is a class which implements the implements 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 the I1 interface. So if you are able to see in this particular line, I'm just writing that what I'm just creating simple interface I1 that contain the fun method, okay, which is declared only declaration part is only present. College is a class which implements the I1 interface. Now, whenever any class that implements the any interface, so that particular class have a responsibility to implement all the method of a particular interface. In this example, college class implements the I1 interface. So class responsibility to what, to implement all the method of a I1 interface. But in this example, I1 interface contain only one method, that is fun method. So this is the um, this is the responsibility of what, this is the responsibility of the college class to implement the particular fun method by giving some line of code into the curly braces. Okay, so this is responsibility of college class. Let's assume college class contains some under its own method, fun2 method. Understand what I'm saying? College class have also some its own method, which is fun2 method. But college class, we know that college class implements the I1 interface. So I1 interface are implemented by the college class. So college class have a responsibility to give the implementation of all the method of I1 interface. So I1 interface in this example contain only one method, that is fun. So fun method giving the body by the implemented by the college class, and college class contain the another method, its own method, that is fun2 method. Now you have to understand how things are working here. What is the concept? First point you have to remember, we are not able to create the object of interface. Second point is, but we are able to create the reference variable of interface. For example, I'm just creating another class, that is main class. Okay, in main class, main method is present, public class void main. This is a I just want to quick revise to understand the particular things. You have to understand how the things are working. What is the concept? I just want to revise about the interface. So you are able to see here. So you are able to see I1 is an interface, college class is a class which implements the I1 interface, and method that are present into I1 interface is implemented by the college class, and fun2 is own of a college class its own method. Now I will discuss that. First point is, we are not able to create the object of interface, but we are able to create the object of a interface, reference variable of interface. So I am just creating the reference variable of a I1. I1 is what? I1 is the interface. Okay. So it is by default take the one, I don't know. So I am just creating the name of this like capital I1. So it takes capital I1. Okay, so I1 is the interface. Now I'm just creating the reference. We are telling that we are not able to create the object of interface, but we are able to create the reference variable of interface. I'm just creating the reference variable. Obj is a reference variable of I1 interface. Now question is, we are just able to create the reference variable of I1 interface. So I1 interface reference variable are which type of object they are able to point. What I question? When we are able to create the reference variable of only interface only, so that particular reference variable are which object they are able to point. So this obj reference variable are only be point on those classes that class implements the I1 interface. What I'm saying, the reference variable of our interface are only able to take the reference of a class of object which class implement that particular interface. Means in this example, college class implements the I1 interface. So the reference variable of a I1 interface, they are able to take the object, they are able to take the reference of a college class. You have to understand. In this example, object, I am just creating the object of college class. Okay, but reference variable of I1 interface are able to take the reference of a college class into its reference variable, because college class implements the particular I1 interface. You are able to understand why interface reference variable are able to take the reference of particular college class, because college class implements the I1 interface. Now by using this reference variable, by using this particular obj reference variable, we are only able to call the method of an interface. We are only able to call the fun method. Why? Because fun method is the method that are present into the interface. If I want to call the we want to call the fun2 method, so we are not able to call. Why I'm not able to call? Because fun2 method is not present into the I1 interface. So these are 2 points that I want to write here. First point is we are not able to create the object of a interface. Second point is we are just able to create the reference variable of a interface. Now this particular reference variable are only able to take the reference of a class which class implements that particular interface. Fourth point is by using that particular reference variable, we are only able to call the all the method of an interface. I am not able to call the fun2 method because fun2 method is not present into interface. So you have to understand this is a concept of an interface. I am just want to do what? Writing all the points here. So you are able to understand what I am discussed till now. So first point I just want to write here means mm, uh, or not we are not able to create the we are not able to create the object of interface, but we are able to create the reference variable of interface. This is the first point. Second point is we are only able to create the reference variable. We are not able to create the object. That reference variable are only take the argument, only take the reference, not argument, reference of particular class, reference of particular class object, which class implements the interface, implements that interface. Okay, what is second point? Second point is by using that reference variable, we are only able to take the reference of a particular class object which class implements that interface. Last point is by using that reference variable, by using that reference variable, we are only able to call all the methods of interface, but we are not able to call the methods of class that implements the interface. So these are the 4 points that I want to revise. It is a very important point about interface. Okay, so you have to understand how it is work. Now these are the 3 points that I writing here, which is very important for understanding the concept of interface. First point, I want to revise. We are not able to create the object of an interface, but we are able to create the reference variable of an interface. Second point is that reference variable are only able to take the reference of a class object that class implements that particular interface. Third point is by using that particular reference variable, we are only able to call what I'm saying. By using that reference variable, we are only able to call the method that are present into the interface, but we are not able to call the method of a class that are not present into the interface. This is the 3 point that is very important about interface. Now I just want to switch on our VS Code for understanding how runnable interface are helps us for attaching the code to the thread. So you are able to see here in this particular constructor which argument as a runnable is a interface and this target is a reference variable. Means this runnable interface and this particular target reference variable is a reference variable which is a type of runnable interface. Means this particular target reference variable are only able to take the reference of those object that class implements the runnable interface. You have to understand how this particular target reference variable is a reference variable of runnable interface. So how this particular target reference variable are only able to take the reference of a class's object that particular class implements the runnable interface. I just want to copy a this particular line and I want to come on our example.java file, and here I just want to paste and comment, and I want to removing all these three lines that I am assuming that earlier before understanding the actual constructor of a thread class. So this particular thread class constructor which take the or which contain the reference variable of a runnable interface. We are telling that in this example that by that the reference variable or only take the reference of a particular class's object which implements that interface. Means in this way, means when we are this particular thread class constructor contain the reference variable of a runnable interface that is known as a target. So this target reference variable are only able to point those object that particular object are implements the runnable interface. So if I want to pass the object of our class new class A, so this reference variable they are not able to take into the target. Why? Because class A does not implement the runnable interface, class B does not implement the runnable interface, class C does not implement the runnable interface. Let's assume class A implements the runnable interface. What I'm saying, let's assume class A implements the runnable interface. When class A implements the runnable interface, at that moment of time, let's assume in your mind class A implements the runnable interface, and then that moment of time runnable interface reference variable are able to take the reference of a particular class A. You have to understand what I'm saying. If class A implements the runnable interface, so runnable interface reference variable are able to take the reference of a class A. So for that, for passing the object of our class A, so they are in this particular target reference variable they are able to point only then when our particular class are implements the runnable interface. So I'm just it comes into here. Now I am just implements the runnable interface in our class A runnable, and class B is also implements runnable, and class C is also implements runnable. Okay, so again you are able to see the error here. When class A implements the runnable interface, I am telling that into concept of interface, whenever we are implementing any interface in our class, so that particular class have responsibility to implement all the method of particular class. So in this example, runnable interface is an interface which is implemented by the class A. So class A have responsibility to give the implementation of all the method of runnable interface. So runnable interface contain only single method that is known as a run method. So this is our requirement, our responsibility to give the body for the run method. So I'm just removing the fun method, I'm just writing run method. So in this way, class A implements the runnable interface as well as not only implement, but the method that are contained by the runnable interface are implemented by the class A. So this particular run method contain the code by which we want to execute with the help of thread T1. Same in the class B. If class B implements the runnable interface, then particular class B responsibility to implement the method of a runnable interface. So I'm just removing this fun2 method and I'm just writing run method. So you are able to see error is gone. and same for C. So I'm just writing here run method. Okay, so I'm just, you are able to see all these error are gone from this file. Class A, which implements the runnable interface. If I'm creating the reference variable of runnable interface, so that particular runnable interface, now they are able to take the reference of a class A. Why? Because class A implements the runnable interface. Understand? And when we are implementing the runnable interface, so I have to implement the method of a runnable interface. So I'm just giving the body for run method in the same for class B and same for class C. So class A, class B, class C, all these three classes implements the runnable interface, and not only implements but also giving the implement this for the interface method, that is run method. Okay, so now you are able to see error is gone from there also. Okay, you are able to see error is gone from there also, means when you are passing the object of a class A into the particular thread class constructor, so in constructor runnable interface reference variable are present. Understand? This particular runnable interface reference variable are only able to take the reference of a class which class implement the runnable interface. So class A implements the runnable interface, so they are without any error, they are able to take the reference of particular class A. Let's assume if class A contain any different method. If I want to open again this file, this is the last point. By using that reference variable, we are only able to call the all method of an interface, but we are not able to call the method of a class that implements the interface. Now, means if class A contain any other method, let's assume if class A contain any other method, public void fun method. Okay, so by using that particular target reference variable, if you are able to see target reference variable, they are taking the argument of a, they are taking the reference of a class A that implements the runnable interface. By using this particular target reference variable, we are not able to call the particular fun method. Why? Because target reference variable is a runnable interface type. So by using target reference variable, we are only able to call the method of a interface. We are not able to call the method of a class. So by using that particular reference variable, target reference variable, which is runnable type, we are only able to call the method of a runnable interface, that is run method. Okay, so if I'm creating any other method in our class A, so this is not useful because we are not able to call that. We are not able to call that. Why? By using the reference variable of an interface, we are only able to call the method of an interface. We are not able to call the reference method of a class. This is a property of interface. Understand? So by using this concept, we are able to, now if I want to attach the code of class A, class B and class C to the thread T1, T2, T3, so we are able to do that by using particular thread T1. We are passing the object of class A, class B and class C into the constructor of thread class, and thread class constructor take the reference variable of a runnable interface, and this reference variable are without any error, they are taking the reference of particular classes because these classes implements the runnable interface. Now if I am just want to come here, you are able to see by using runnable this constructor, we are able to attach our code to the thread. So this is the third point that I cover till now. Means till now what are tasks are done. So I just want to come on our OneNote. You are able to see these 3 points. If I want to here doing like boxes, checkbox. So first point is completed, means we are able to, we are created the thread class object. Second point, we are able to write the line of code for each thread. Third point means we are able to attach all our code to the thread, means class A code we are able to attach to the thread T1, class B to the thread T2 and class A to the thread T3. Now last point is coming, that is executing the thread. After attaching the code to the thread T1, T2, T3, I just want to execute all the thread simultaneously. So how we will do that? So let's go for again VS Code. Now after attaching the code of class A, class B, class C to the thread T1, T2, T3. I just want to execute that. So if I want to open the thread class in this example, you are able to see thread class contain many constructor and many method. So there is another method that is known as a start method. By using this particular start method, we are able to start the execution of thread. Okay, so by using this particular start method, we are able to start the execution of a what thread. When we are calling the start method by using the object of a thread, so in this start method, in internally they are calling the run method. Understand what I'm saying? When we are calling the start method by using the thread class object for start the execution of a thread, so internally they are calling the run method. Understand, that are present into our class. For example, if I want to execute our thread, so I'm just writing t1 dot start, t2 dot start. Understand, t3 dot start. So I'm just creating the I'm just in this line of code t1, t2, t3. By using start method, we are able to start the execution of thread t1, t2, t3. Internally this start method calling the run method. So when we are calling the start method, so by using internally they are calling this particular run method that are present into class A, and this particular line are execute. Then when we are calling the by using T2 calling the start method, then this particular run method internally called it by the thread class, and same for class C. So this is the fourth last step of creating multi-threading program. That is what, by using the start method, we are able to start the execution of a thread. So I just want to save the program and run the code. Let's see what is the output of particular program. They now, what is the first, before executing that, I just want to tell you what is the meaning of threading. Threading means these are the thread T1, T2, T3 are execute simultaneously. Means sometimes this particular class C run method execute, sometime this particular class B run method execute, and sometime this particular class A run method execute. In this run method I am printing thread T1. In class B reference run method I am just printing message thread T2, and by giving some space. And in this class C run method I am giving maximum space and write thread T3. So I just want to run the program and see the output. What is the output of the program? You are able to see, first of all, thread T2 is execute, T2, 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 and again then T3 thread are execute, then T1. I'm if you are able to see here, if I'm open this particular, if I'm open this, you are able to see I'm first calling the T1 start method, then T2, then T3, but output is completely different. I just start the execution of a thread T1 first, then T2, then T3, but our result is first T2 thread result is comes, then T3 thread T3 means first this particular method are called it, then this particular method, then in the last, then T1 is execute. Means thread T1, T2, T3 are execute simultaneously. They are not execute into the sequence. If I want to again run the code, so again the output is different. Output is not same. You have to see the output. You are able to see here, sometime thread T1 means class A run method execute, which print the message T1, T1, T1 three times. Again, then thread T3 means are completed execute, then thread T2 execute, and then in the last, if I want to take it up from this, so you are able to see the output. For sometime thread T1 execute, then sometime thread T3 execute, then again sometime thread T2 execute, and again sometime thread T1 execute. So in this way, Java language are switching the execution of control from thread T1, T2, T3 in the same amount of time. If I again want to run the program, so you are able to see how these things are working. Okay, so I just want to again run the code. This particular code I just again want to execute and see the output. What is the new output? You are able to see, first time T1 execute, then T3 execute, then T2 execute. You are able to see I am in the same program I am executing three times. First time different output, second time different output, third time different output. Means same program giving the different output. Why different output? Because all the three thread T1, T2, T3 are executing simultaneously. Okay, so there is no sequence of executing. Understand? So this is known as a multi-threading. How we are able to create the multi-threading program by implementing the runnable interface. So this is the example of, this is the first way of creating the multi-threading program in our Java language by implementing the runnable interface. Understand? You are able to see. So this is the last point. I am just clear now. Steps of creating thread class, that is these are the fourth step I just writing here for creating the for creating the multi-threading program by first way, means by implementing the runnable interface. Okay, you are able to see, by implementing the runnable interface we are able to create the multi-threading program. Understand? I just want to switch here. So this is a program. I am just creating class A which contain the run method. By using for loop, I am just printing thread T1 method and T2 and T3. So sometime when we are calling the start method T1 start dot T2 start and T3 start, then you are able to see how the execution of a control, sometimes this particular class A method are execute, sometimes this class B method execute, sometimes class C method execute, again class B and class C, all the method are execute concurrently. Understand? So this is an example of multi-threading. Now let's see second way of creating the multi-threading program, that is by extending the thread class. How we are able to create the multi-threading program by extending the thread class. So let's see. Hello. So now let's see the second way of creating multi-threading program, which is what? Which is by extending the thread class. By extending the thread class, how we are able to create a multi-threading program in our Java language. So for that, I'm just want to import the java.lang.extra. Okay. So how we are able to create the multi-threading program? By extending the thread class. So for that, I'm just creating class A, not a class A, like class X is capital, and class Y, then class Z. Okay. Steps are also same here. First step is we have to create the object of thread class. So I'm just creating the object of thread class. Second step is to write the code of a thread, write the code for each thread. So first thread is known as a class X. Class X code I just want to attach the thread T1, T2 and T3. Understand? So for that purpose, the question is by extending the thread class we are able to do that. Means class X, I just want to create the class X which extends the thread class, and class Y it also extends the thread class. Class C is also extend the thread class. Means if I want to create any thread, so I'm creating a class which extend the thread class. Now after extending the thread class, I want to write some line of code which is printed. So I'm using the run method. I override the run method. If you are able to see thread class, in thread class which implements the runnable interface, so thread class is already defined the run method. If I want to override that particular run method in our class, in child class, so we are able to do that. This is known as a method overriding. By using the concept of method overriding, we are able to create the recreate the run method into child class, which is the parents class of child class is thread class. So in this particular class X is the child class of thread class. So I am just want to override the run method. We know that why I'm override run method. We know that run method is used for executing the thread class line of code of thread T1, T2, T3, whatever that. So I'm just override the thread method, public void run, because thread run method is used for executing the thread. So again I want to copy this line of code into all these classes, means class X, class Y and class Z. All these three classes are override the thread method which is the already present into the parents class, that is known as a thread. Okay, so I just want to write line of code here. Int I is equal to 1, I less than equal to 5, I plus plus, and system.out.println. I'm writing here like class X. Okay, then copy this particular for loop and put it here in class Y. By giving some space, I just want to write here Y. I think you are able to understand why I'm going to give this space, because if I'm giving this space, so you are able to say understand how the particular line of code or how the threads are executed into different way. So again, I just want to come into Z class and override the run method. I'm just writing here class Z and giving them more spaces. Okay, so you are able to see class X, class Y, class Z are child classes of thread class. Run method is already present into thread class, but I want to override that run method into child class, into X class. So I'm just override the run method. Let's assume if I want to create the object of thread class. Okay, if I want to run this particular run method, so how we are able to do that? What I'm saying, when in concept of method overriding, let's assume a class thread is already contain the run method, which contain not I not know whatever line of code they are contain run method that is already present into thread class. But if I'm creating a child class of thread class that is known as a X class, in X class I'm overriding the run method. So for running this particular run method, I have to create the object of child class and calling the method. If I'm creating the object of thread class, let's assume if I'm creating the object of thread class, so I'm calling the run method of thread class, that is I'm calling the run method of a thread class that is present into run method, that is present into thread class. By using the object of parents class, we are not able to call the method of a child class. By using the object of a parents class, we are not able to call the method of a child class. We are only able to call the method of a parents class. If I want to call the method of a child class, so for that I have to create the object of a child class. So in this example, if I am creating the object of thread class, is also become a thread. If I am creating the object of X class, which is child class of a thread class, which is also a thread. Why? If I am creating the object of a particular child class, so child class object is not only contain the method or a property of a child class, but also inherit all the methods, all the property of a parents class. Means if I am creating the object of X class, Y class or Z class, so by default these are the object are by default become the thread class object. Why? These objects are inherit all the property of a thread class. This is why. And second thing, why I'm going to create the object of child class, because I want to run the executing the I want to execute the child class version of a run method that is already present into the parents class version, but I want to run the I want to run the particular line which is child class version. So I have to create the object of child class. So I'm just coming into the main method. I'm creating the object of child class, that is thread t1 new X, then y, for same for Y, okay, and same for Z. Okay, so you are able to see if I'm creating the object of thread class, it completely same if I'm creating the object of child class of thread class. Understand? Second thing, the second reason of creating the object of child class, why I'm creating the object of child class, the reason is I want to run the newer version or a child version of a run method. Run method are present into child thread class as well as child class also. Means one method is present into parents class as well as child class. If I want to execute the child class version, so for that I have to create the object of child class. This is why reason I am creating the object of a child class XYZ. So now T1, T2, T3 become the thread. Okay, I'll not only become the thread, when I'm creating the object of class X, class Y, class Z, so by default they are become the thread. T1, T2, T3 become thread. Why? Because the parents class of a class X, class Y, class Z is a third class. Understand? So by default they are inheriting all the property of a third class. So I'm just calling the start method for executing the all the thread. What is this, bro? And again I'm calling the start method for thread T3. So by using the start method we are able to call the thread, we are able to call the execute all the threads simultaneously. Understand? So this is a concept of how we are able to create the multi-threading program by extending the thread class. Understand? You have to understand why I am going to override run method in our program, why I am going to extend the thread class, why I am creating the object of a child class of thread class. Okay, so this is all concept of how we are able to create the multi-threading program by extending the thread class. I just want to compile and run the program and let's see the output. Okay, I just want to take it up. So you are able to see sometime class X execute, then class Y execute, then class Z execute, and again sometimes class X execute. Means the sequence of execution of a thread is not same. All the thread T1, T2, T3 are execute simultaneously. If you are see class X execute 3 times, then class Y start execution, then class Z start execution, in last class X start execution. Means execution of all the thread are concurrent execute, they are not execute in one by one. So this is a concept of multi-threading, how we are able to create the multi-threading program by extending the thread class. Understand? So this is example, best example of creating the thread class by creating the multi-threading program by extending the thread class. Now, this all information about thread class. Question is, sir, when we override the run method in our X class, Y class, Z class, these are run method are contain some line of code which are able to execute our thread. Understand? Now when we are calling the, when we are creating the object of class X, class Y, class Z, so by default they are inherit all the property of a thread class. So it is completely same to create the object of thread class or create the object of child class of thread class. So by using T1, T2, T3, I am just calling the start method of a thread class which is present into the parents class. Understand why X, class Y, class Z is not contain the start method. Start method where present? Start method present into the parents class, that is third class. So internally when we are calling the start method, run method is execute. Okay, so this is why this particular information, this particular things are creating multi-threading program by using the thread class are done. Okay, so I just want to come over this particular line and I'm put it here. So all these 5 points, 4 points are clear till now. I'm just telling all the information very best way. I'm giving my best for uh, understanding the easy way what is the meaning of multitasking, what is the meaning of multi-processing, and last one, what is the meaning of multi-threading. Then differences between process and threads, how, what is the steps involved for creating threads, and number of way of creating thread, how we are able to create a multi-threading program by implementing the runnable interface, and second way, how we are able to create the multi-threading program by extending the thread class. Now there is a one, there is a one drawback of creating a multi-threading program by extending the thread class. What I'm saying, there is a one drawbacks of creating multi-threading program by extending thread class. What is that? What is that particular drawback? I'm not going to tell you now. This is your task. This is your uh, task to done, to search or to think about that. What is the drawback of creating the multi-threading program by extending the thread class, which is solved by the particular implementing the runnable interface. You know that this particular way, means second way of creating multi-threading program is very easy by extending the thread class, but it is not good. It is a drawbacks. What is drawback? I'm telling in the next part of the multi-threading program. In this particular part 1 video, I'm not going to do that. This is your task to think about that. What is the drawback of creating the multi-threading program by extending the thread class? Okay, and this particular drawbacks are solved by the first way of creating multi-threading program, that is by implementing the runnable interface. So this all information about the multi-threading in Java till now, I think your basic introduction about multithreading. What is the multithreading? How we are able to create the multithreading program by different ways. What is example? What is a thread class? What are the constructor contained by the thread class? What are the method contained by the thread class? And in detail all the method, how the method are working, I am completing into the part 2 video of multi-threading. Second thing, what is the runnable interface? What are the runnable interface contain the method in his body? Okay, so all information runnable interface and much more are clear in this video. This is part 1 video. This is a basic and introduction about multi-threading. In part 2 video I am telling you all information about the multi-threading in advance. What is the advanced feature are contained by the multi-threading in Java. Okay, so let's end the video and thanks for watching this video.